In meeting needs connected with the pandemic, local communities have relied on help from Washington, but also on different forms of mutual aid. With the recent cutback in federal relief, there's even more need for local efforts, especially in response to food insecurity. To tell us what's planned over the weeks ahead for Hunger Action Month is our guest from the Greater Boston Food Bank, the Senior Director of Communications and Public Affairs, Catherine Drennan. Thank you very much for being with us, Catherine.
Thank you, Chris, for having me.
Well, around food, a lot of people know the strangeness of going to a supermarket these days, but in terms of people who are experiencing food insecurity, put this in perspective. I mean, how bad is it right now?
Yeah, we've seen historic demand for food insecurity. In the first several months, we saw over a 70% increase in distribution and demand. We're estimating that across Eastern Massachusetts, which is the service area that we serve, 190 cities and towns, there's been about a 59% increase in food insecurity among people. Many who have are experiencing it for the very first time.
What does food insecurity mean exactly? Because we're not using the word hunger. So is this something that's less serious, or what exactly does it mean?
It's more the scientific term around hunger. Hunger is kind of a symptom. You are hungry. Food insecurity is defined as not knowing where your next meal is coming from. So when we say someone is food insecure, they may, have access to a school meal, but they don't know if they're going to go home and have dinner that night, and so, or they have groceries and whatever's in their pantry or their refrigerator, but they have no idea when and how they're going to stock that their kitchen up.
Of course, responding to needs is different too, because before people could go to different locations around the Boston area and get what they need, but right now you've got to watch out for social distancing. How has that made things more difficult?
Yeah, it's completely changed our work. So in a system that was very face-to-face, touch, come into a lot of our pantries actually had been moving over to client choice. So like a grocery store where they come in, pick whatever they want. We've moved over to more of a system where we're pre-packing boxes, packages, bags, and you kind of sign up ahead of time when you're going to pick it up. A lot of drive-through models, so just not even touchless, not even getting out of your car. We'll drop it in your back seat or your trunk, and so it's changed a great deal. And so it also presents a bit of a challenge to get to know who's coming and seeking services, because there isn't that face-to-face conversation about what is going on. But we know by the numbers of people that are flooding our system that there is an immense need right now.
Well, one of the things that had been good earlier this year in terms of response to the pandemic was that there was more aid and there were fewer hurdles as far as showing eligibility. How do things stand right now?
Yeah, we were working with our state agencies and USDA very, very closely. We have been from day one of this pandemic. And very early on, we were able to loosen up some of the waivers or some of the flexibilities, and allowing for just a little bit of an ease to administer some of the programs that we do. So our state programs, our agencies have been incredibly helpful in that work. School meals, I think, is most notably had a lot of attention right now. USDA just announced that they're extending their waivers through the end of the calendar year, so that schools can more adaptly and flexibility in sharing or providing food to families and kids. So lots of new programs. I mean, I think that's been another challenge that many people don't really realize is, with all the flexibilities of the existing programs, we've also had this layer of all these new programs we've had to navigate and figure out how to administer.
Well, one of the other things you're up against is, in the White House, is a president who has spent the last 3.5 years stigmatizing food benefits, boasting almost about how many people who he has gotten off the rolls for SNAP benefits. How does that affect what you're trying to do?
Yeah, the stigma is real, and we often call the impact a chilling effect. So, especially immigrants and refugees looking to seek services and benefits that they qualify for, but are in fear of accessing for fear of getting deported or getting a slap on the wrist or whatever. You know, a lot of that is just fear tactic, and it's presented a lot of challenges, especially now. I'll give an example. There's a new program called Pandemic PEBT that basically was a card that went out to every school child and their family to be able to access food. And so many families didn't even activate the card because for fear of what that meant. And that was the whole opposite purpose of that program. So it was really a way for families to be able to access food. And so, yes, it's very real and it's very challenging. And so we've done a lot of work working on the ground with our partners and communities to make sure that people understand their rights and understand what programs are available to them.
Well, in response to the pandemic, there have been a lot of efforts locally, a lot of resources that have been generated locally. What about the need for that going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think one silver lining, I hate to keep saying silver lining of the pandemic, but it's true, the generosity from the community and just new partners that have stepped up in new and different ways and innovative ways to address this challenge has been incredible. We've had about 20 new partners. We had a really innovative partnership in Boston between the YMCA, the MBTA, and the city of Boston, where we were delivering groceries to elder people that were homebound. And that was a partnership that never existed before. So just really incredible new innovative partnerships. And then also just the outpouring of support of donations. We have gone from probably spending about $1 million to about $3 million a month on food. So we need the money to continue to sustain our operations.
And between the cost of the food itself and the delivery charges, food's not getting any cheaper, right?
No, actually, for the last several years, Massachusetts actually ranked in the top 5 highest cost of food states. And as you've seen in reports over the last several months, with food shortages and supply chain issues, food has risen, and the cost of food. And we very much felt that. And so we do an incredible amount of purchasing of food at the Greater Boston Food Bank. And so, we've not only had to buy more food, but we've had to pay more for food.
Well, in addition to some of the fundraisers you have scheduled this month, you're also calling on people to pitch in with messaging on social media. Explain how that would work and why it's so important.
Yeah, so September has always been Hunger Action Month. It's a national awareness campaign led by Feeding America, and this month could not have come at a better time to bring awareness and action to this issue. And the theme is really every action counts, and that is very true. Every action counts. You can volunteer, you can donate, you can advocate. And those are the 3 ways we're asking folks, the general public, to participate. And we really want everyone to participate. Food is very personal to people. I think people can very much understand and appreciate how important food is and how important food has been. Everyone has had issues, or experiences going to the grocery store during this pandemic. And imagine if you just don't even have the luxury to be able to afford or go into the grocery store yourself for whatever reason. So action is so important. Every action counts this month.
And I know you have a rally and a day of action planned at the State House as one of these events. You've got fundraisers. If people want some more details on that and how they can connect, is there a way they can find it online somewhere?
Yes. So you can follow our social media accounts. We will be sharing those regular activities and themes and messages throughout the month. And you can go to www.gbfb, as in Greater Boston Food Bank.org/Hunger Action Month.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to join us on that. Catherine
Thank
Drennan
you.
from the
Thank
Greater,
you, Chris.
yes, Catherine Drennan from the Greater Boston Food Bank.